trying to answer on the question about what comes to your mind with you learning in your career. That would be very pleasant to see regarding the differences and the nuances that you have in your mind. Hopefully it works still. I will try to move to another corner, closer to a receiver. Maybe that's gonna work. Struggle and passion. I like the controversy of that. Fun. Wow. Okay. There's a lot of fun with the learning, which is never ending. I like it very much because these days, exactly as Ota have mentioned, it's a never ending exercise. And if we stop, it has certain consequences. It may be a challenge. I wouldn't say the challenge. I like and appreciate the passion very much. Why the hell is Marian there? Nobody knows. I did something wrong, potentially. The challenge, okay, and the necessity. That makes total sense because, again, learning is very tied to our daily life. And if we end up to basically not educating and growing ourselves and upskilling, I think that's going to be reflected into our potential and our value on the market. Absolutely. Investment, time struggle, of course. That's, by the way, a usual excuse I hear very often while watching Netflix. Documentation, skill developments, long nights. Oh, Jesus. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. I think it creates a very nice picture about the necessity growth, the challenge, and the controversial fact of the necessity while having fun out of it. And that's exactly the way how I feel it myself. So I really know what you're talking about.
Currently, only leading an organization of around 130 people from different countries. I have a developer's background, so I study IT university, mathematics, and so on. So I used to be a developer, but right now I'm really kind of passionate about VŠE and development, so that's why I'm here today. I guess that's the same for you. That's why you're here too. For today, I prepare a set of, let's say, statements, or maybe much more like more experiences that I've learned along the way, and I like to share with you. And also, I'd like to provide you with some practical examples how you can really utilize the same from what I did. So let's take a look on the first one. The first statement is that only a small percentage of people are developing themselves by their own. From my observation is around 10, maybe up to 20% of people that really devote themselves without asking that you so cash as you university but those two companies you want to or do you work only 10 to 15 hours you smart up are doing where the rest you need to do it you have to do it you can be really creative in there. Mostly I'm talking about, for instance, career growth, which is coupled with a salary raise. At the same time, you should lead by example. This is very, very important because if you don't develop yourself, if you don't learn new things as a leader, it's very likely that your people won't do it either. So you can't expect them to do so. For some, it might be autonomy, empowerment. If they want to be empowered, they need to learn how to do so. So that might be their motivation. And that you can get really creative. As I said, you can gamify the whole thing. I'll show you how we did that. And you should pre-dope that those people that are the only do so. Benefits. The first one is it provides clear expectations for the roles on different levels. So you really know what is expected, but you also know what is not expected and what will be expected if you move to that level. It provided you the guidance, what you really need to learn, what not only what you wish to learn, but what the company wants you to learn, what's really expected. It breaks us also transparency into salary. Not that we would share the salaries with each other, but it enables us to create some salary ranges, which leads to some fairness that we pay people not equally, but equally on the same level. And it helps us in within the hiring process. So the interviews are much more structured and you really know where to focus. Yet the frameworks itself are not enough without you. As I mentioned, only few people are developing themselves. So only few people in our company are following the career journey. So you as leaders, you need to motivate them, push them, coach them, nudge them, whatever. But you need to be very active in the also in pointing them to the right directions. So this is how our career journey framework looks like. You can see some levels. So you start with a trainee, and you can end up being team lead or tech lead, whatever you want to focus on people or tech. We are evaluating levels on 5 axes. So you can see that, let's say, technology or hard skill is just one of 5. But there are other important stuff that also developers need to learn. It's the system, the SLAs and everything, what they develop that works in the system. It's the people they work with, and it's the processes they're using. And for me, very important one is the influence level. That if you're a senior, you should pass your knowledge to other people. You are influencing, no matter if you want or not, you are influencing people around you. And I really like to look at that X as well. Learning is an investment of time and budget. I think we all know that. I just wanted to mention it as I believe it should be perceived as an investment. You need to provide people with space, environment, or maybe time so they can develop themselves. So they don't have to do it on the weekends. So in Horeca, especially the R&D organization, you can dedicate up to 10% of your time to something we call improvement days, which is about improving yourself, improving the code, team's code, prototyping everything, whatever you want. It needs to stay relevant to the business. Believe me or not, but people sometimes tend to learn something they don't really need or the company doesn't need. So, for instance, learning how to cook is not very relevant to the company needs, but this is an extreme example. Why it happens? Maybe sometimes people want to learn a new language that we don't plan to use. Why would they use so? So it should be relevant to the business, and it's a good practice to share everything you do during the improvement days with your team. Regarding the budget, you should build a reasonable cost structure. Reasonable means that it's relevant to the business. As I said, learning expenditure is not very much relevant. You will need to negotiate a budget with someone, maybe your boss or CFO with her, and you should do that early. Things aren't taking so much time. I don't know, maybe in our company, maybe your companies as well, but you should do it early. And it's a great practice to show the return for the investment. You invest time and money, and you should prove that it's worth it. For instance, we can see on our measurements that teams that are taking more improvement days, more stable services in the production because they do command well, they do great, they do better tests and so on. Good. So this is it. I want to see one more thing. I got lost a little bit. Yeah, reality check. So people can take up to 10%. Reality is they're taking kind of 2, maybe a little bit more percent of their time into improvement. So that's why you as leaders are very important to encourage them to do so. And this is an example how we're tracking the improvement days. So everything's filed in Jira, in the team backlogs, and this is how it should look like. Reality is not everyone is doing it this way. Maybe they are not very diligent in writing descriptions and so on, but this is kind of ideal state. So in the end, you can go into your Jira reports and see how much time do your people dedicate to their given. This is something I really believe and might be a little bit sensitive, but I think they do not share your knowledge. Slow everyone down. And I have an example to tell you. We had a very senior developer, Python developer, and the project could be work on. The team estimated the work for 1 to 2 sprints, while the senior developer, he said, I work on it myself. I'll do it within, let's say, 2 days. I really did. I didn't work in production in 2 days, 3 days, let's say. The problem was once he resigned, the team had to take over the code, but they were not able to do so because the code was so complicated. And the issue with this guy was he was not sharing knowledge. He was not able to cooperate and talk to people So in the end, the team had to be bright anyways. So that's why I believe that not sharing the knowledge really slows you down maybe in the future. How to do so? How do you share knowledge? You can find a lot of ways how to do so. This is these examples or these methods or tools we're using. So first of all is mentoring, internal mentoring. For years we were discussing how to enable that. How do we create a process mechanism of internal mentoring? But one day I said like, no, let's try to do it very simple. And I'd show you how to do that. I did it in one day, maybe 1 hour, and it works. Now we're building up on that, creating it a little bit more structured way, but we started with that and it really worked. Another thing is something we call tech talks. Monthly, we're organizing these sessions where people share what they've learned or what they've achieved with the other developers, usually 2 to 3 speakers each time. And again, this is really great. Sometimes people want to study something, but not in the book, but they want to practice. They want to do something like real, but they don't know what. So that's why we have this thing that we call Career Boost Bazaar, which is basically a list of key initiatives, technology initiatives that didn't fit into product backlogs, but we still have to do them somehow, some libraries or whatever. So we can provide them, this is what we need if you want to learn maybe that language. So if you want to learn it, take your improvement day and work on that day. And finally, we have gamified the whole thing. And with Heureka Devs, which is like our developer brand, we created Heureka Devs rewards. And I'll show you how it looks like. So this is the leaderboard people that are active in sharing the knowledge. And there are a lot of ways that you can really do. So starting from, you're actually receiving points for taking improvement day, receiving points for presenting like me. So tomorrow I'll get some points here. For sharing blog posts, being on a conference, helping our people in the company, whatever. There's a list of tens of things that you can do. Get points, get rewards. And this is not mandatory, but this is the gamified way. The rewards are usually some merch, but also it can be a budget for the event, like a pop or a budget for training. And this is something that might be useful for you if you're thinking about starting your own mentoring program. So this is how it looks like. That's a components page with very basic tips, a list of people that are willing to share their knowledge as mentors, list of people that want to learn something new from the mentors, as mentees. And you just send it to the company and let people assign it to each other. As leaders, you need to encourage them to do so. Yeah. So only 10 to 20% does that on their own. Really, these are the rules. You can build up on that. You can provide trainings to the mentors and so on. But this is the start. This is really something you can do 10 minutes. Now maybe just one since you have. And my personal tip would be learn by doing. I really think that we learn the best by doing things, especially in the leadership area. You might agree with me that giving feedback is the best way how to learn to give feedback is to practice, not from a presentation, but also for hard skills like pair programming and so on. But the reality again is people don't want to do pair programming that often because having someone else looking over your shoulder all day, I don't know. So again, you as leaders, you need to encourage everyone to do so. And last but not least, look outside, provide external mentoring options. So for instance, we cooperate Maria here with a couple of other people as we mentors them. I'm also mentoring people outside, also inside. I think this is just great possibility to bring external knowledge into your company. Or going further, you can organize a meetup, which we're doing as well, letting people to start building the learning culture. So, two things that I'd like you to remember. The first one is make learn part of the job, not make it as a bonus. Make it part of the job. And frameworks are great, but the value is in the culture and the issue. So now, from what you've seen, you just imagine if you could implement just one thing here, you have guidance how to do so, or I can tell you afterwards. I'm really looking forward to those discussions. It can really help you. So What if you encourage someone to take an improvement lead? What if you take an improvement lead? Just see how it works. Or you find someone that needs to learn something and some senior guy that would teach the junior one. So just connect them and let them and tell them this is your mid-grade session. Just do it. Just try it. Or organize your own thing talk. Again, few people can talk like here. Pretty soon. So this is it from me. Thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to those discussions and maybe let me know later how it goes. Thank you.
Well, about a week ago, when I was asked to throw a speech about our learning activities, I immediately started to brainstorm about the different angles. If I should speak about soft skills, hard skills, growth plan, seniority metrics, our internal initiatives, beneficial or mandatory learnings. At the end, I decided to actually show you 4 case studies, I would call it, from our learnings. But, oh, sorry, forward. But when I was thinking about it, I just realized that in almost every operation behind the scene, there is some learning. And we really love learning upon some certain level. If you break the borders, it might become harmful, as you will see. And before I will show you those case studies, it's necessary to introduce you the environment in which we operate. It's such a different comparing to Lucas because he is working mostly for the product company, but we are software agency. So what does it mean? We usually have some unutilized people on the bench, people who we need to utilize internally for our innovations or future proof of concepts. We always need to be upon with the latest tech. Most of our clients are US based, and typically what's happening there is coming to check in a year and a half. Then we need to operate with different seniority levels because the fluctuation in the team, and we are very community based. We organize meetups, we teach at the universities, we write a lot of blog posts. And of course, comparing to product companies, the cash flow in the agencies are always an issue, so we try to do some cost savings whenever possible. When we are growing and we establish as a real company, comparing to some punk startup, we materialized few key principles, and we want everyone to work with them or live with them. And one of them is share what you know and learn what you don't. So really the learning is everywhere and it's part of a hiring process. So you should be asked when in hiring process to our company, what was the latest updates for WWDC? Or what have you been to some meetup? How do you educate yourself? And it might be blocker to even get to the company. We expect everyone to be hard learners because it's necessary. As an agency and working on multiple products and projects at once, we need to keep some general knowledge and to avoid the situation which was described to Lucas. So we need to everyone be replaceable by everyone else. And it's actually even amplified by the fact that we are working in a mobile department. If you imagine what has happened in past decade in mobile world, you have to be learning every damn day. Apple bringing new tech every year via WWDC, and we have, for example, just few months to adopt the technology between the June and the September to be ready to get it to production. Also, there were so many new devices and features every year. Right now, it's finally getting into some stable state. But in past, if you imagine that 10 years ago, what was you able to do at the mobile and you are doing right now, it's totally different story. And if you lose the track with the current state of the tech, you are just gone. It's extremely hard to reset it and be on track again. And especially with the latest updates and latest devices. Imagine that the Apple released Vision Pro just the last year. And the first case study is actually how we adapted Vision Pro. So this one is successful one. And if you imagine that in January it was released like a new device, a new operation system, we immediately bought it in US. Fun fact is that it was bought by our CEO as his personal device because of the company cash flow, and he brought it to our offices when he wasn't traveling back from US. We immediately organized hackathon, but the hackathon was on Saturday. So everyone, or not everyone, but let's say the 50% from the department dedicated their time during the Saturday to test the new device and to learn what is possible to do there. Then we, from those learnings and some additional educations, we prepare a set of our platform meetings, and we had a plan to at least 1/3 of the department is able to work with that device and develop some apps. And we also decided to support some marketing, so all people on the bench last year, and because it was also aligned with the company strategy, we developed 4 POCs for the Vision Pro. By the way, if you know who is the person on the picture, it's CEO of Škoda testing 1 hour of our POC, which was dedicated to automotive, and it was some car configurator. Which brings me to one important fact. Even if you do any internal innovation, any internal work, it's necessary to still stick with your high standards, because otherwise it's not efficient. So always, even working on our products, keep the high standards, then you can succeed. And what happened? One of our POC was very successful. We were able to secure our first Vision Pro project. Surprisingly, it was for the Czech company. We built real estate configurator. We are launching it right now. I will suggest you to check the promo video on LinkedIn. You can find it's called Spacely. It's amazing. And we at the end made it by one, let's say, very junior person with some help of a mentor and some tech lead. And it was just because we are able to adapt this technology extremely fast. So it's a year and a half and we have already existing product. And right now we are preparing set of the blog posts. But it brings me to one issue: what can happen if you have too many learning activities for your team? And you can actually burn them out really easily. I don't want to go through all the list, but those were all learning activities, what we have done. We were releasing regular newsletters, blog posts. We have so many channels when you can have some automated updates from the community. We started to teach at universities, organize meetup, our all academies, hackathons, whatever. And actually, it was a lot of noise for the people to figure out what is the best learning path for them. And also, imagine that this was all set up for the team, which was almost 40 people. Now imagine what will happen when throughout the time we stop hiring and stop replacing and rehire people who left the company. We are not able to keep it as sustainable, right? Because right now we are 20. And if you imagine all those things to do in 20 people, to keep on track with those learnings, it's not possible. So what happened there? It was much pressure for us as leaders. We need to help people more to find their growth path, because there were so many options and they were just not lost. Also, if there was nobody to do or to be able or invest his personal time to do some extra step for some sort of this learning activities, it was upon us as a leader. It's nice to lead by example, but again, it's not so stable for the long time to do everything for your team. So at the end, we said no. We resigned of being the translators of all the standards, and we decided to reset everything with our team and figure out more consensual way how to reduce things and do it more focused on quality. We bring some regular feedbacks, and we decided to do something like I call shared ownership. So many of those learning paths are now shared in small groups, which keep people engaged. Also, it's easier for some sort of supervision or mentoring to do it in small groups than in individuals, especially when there are less people to do it. And it brings me to the point of our main learning platform, which are our meetings. We have it mandatory, but not in a way that I will somebody give some beta or just to person them if they don't join the meetings, but we take it like a narrative. So during the onboarding process, you are said that this is mandatory because this is 1 week per week 1 hour per week, which is just dedicated to our team to share the knowledge. And it's important. First, it's bonding for the team because we operate internationally. Second, it's best way how to learn. It's just share and care. But in past, as it wasn't aligned much with the company strategy. Those were just random topics from the people who were either willing to present the topics or they had something to share. But overall, when we're tracking by feedbacks how people like those meetings, people are not very satisfied with that fact. People were lacking some presentation skills, there were repetitive topics, or the topics were pretty much the same. It took us about 2 to 3 years to tune it up to high quality and to make satisfy everyone. So what are our today genres? Comparing to some other regular platform meetings, first we have over meetings. So we share some internal updates from the sales pipeline, upcoming projects, how we are doing. Then we have, of course, tech topics, but usually aligned with our company strategy. So last year it was a lot of topics about the Vision Pro. This year, this is the AI bus. Then we bring up the sharing and caring. So really, we are talking more in a softer way, like we usually do in the leadership roles, to learn by examples from the others. It's a great platform, and it's usually hosted by someone from the team, so not definitely the managers, because then the people are more open. And it's a great platform to learn from the others and from the projects and the issue made. Then we have some project overview, of course, and then we have conference overview. So whenever somebody is traveling to conference or attendee it, we ask him to do some overview, what he have learned, and what was the interesting part from the conference. And one cherry pick on the top, we have realized that sending regular invitation, what will be the topic, what is the expectation to be done on the meeting, help us with natural higher engagement on the meetings. So it's not in a way that people are sitting there and pretending some other work, but they are really listening and caring what's happening there. It's also great for the respect for the speaker. Conferences. This is probably only one beneficial learning platform, and it might be really costly. We support both speakers and attendees. And usually we cover everything, and we prefer Europe. Of course, we are not there just for tech learning, but also for some sort of networking. And of course, we have limited budget. And at the same time, there's high demand in our team to go there. So how to figure it out? We decided to ask people to pay for the transformation themselves. First, they feel more like a shared responsibility. So it's for them not just a fun to have a 3-day party somewhere abroad. It also opened the doors to the world because we still pay for the accommodation and tickets, but people can share. And it allowed us to actually bring 70% from the team to the conferences instead of just 40 because of just the budget constraints. And 2 successful stories for the conferences, because we don't measure anyway the quality of learning or what it brings to us. But one story is that we are the networking. We met our former colleague from Japan at one conference in UK, and he was willing to work in Europe. So we later bring him to Prague, and it was awesome. And the other part of this successful story, how to bring new people from all over the world to your company, is that once he joined, we just signed a contract with Japanese Yahoo, and the condition was to have someone from the team speaking Japanese. So it was pretty cool. And the other one is that still the community is quite small. So we are meeting the same people. And one of the guys created a great tool for iOS developers. And because we know him from the conferences, and he asked us to provide feedback or send him a wish list of features, at the end, he provided this tool for us for 50% forever. So we are actually right now saving 2,000 per year. Last piece of the puzzle, and it's speaker program. As I said previously, there was not many people having some speaker skills. And again, just internally, a few people who had some experience from the conferences prepared this program, which is very popular. It's limited for just 10 people, and it's just about the time dedication. So most of the learnings we do internally, and we know that everyone knows that actually he's doing it mostly for himself. It's not because we push him to do it. It's because he understands how it helps him to grow. We always explain what are the benefits for every of those activities, and he knows that he's increasing his value on the market. So then, of course, it keeps the cycle. It makes some pressure to us to keep those talented people in the company. At the same time, it helps those people be on track and satisfy their learning. So what are the key takeaways? No matter the situation is, don't stop learning. You'll probably never come back. You will just to be stuck and fixed, right? Always just keep going forward. Select the right people. We really insist on this, on the learnings. We need to be hard learners. If we still would be too competitive on the market. It's necessary. One personal bonus. Throughout the time, I found really most valuable thing to be able to learn from others. And I'm not talking about business or any professional environment. I'm talking about the fact that I was able to build my house myself. Just the learning from the others, even the manual work. You can learn whatever you want in your life. And then I actually kick off the initiative in our company. So right now we are sharing how to do some house constructions. So regarding the just being the developers, we are also the house builders or just gardeners. Thank you. Don't forget, learning is the key.
Doesn't come from Albert Einstein, Heinrich Albert Einstein, as you can see. I don't have that mind. Nevertheless, what I was gonna say is that I was the bad guy, moving from one company to another, trying to explore the talent and the opportunities, doing my best to learn from people who are worth following, and actually making sure that if there's an environment that might be richer for me to get towards expanding my skills, I was okay to move to that environment. And only sometimes I hesitate because a couple of companies were really worth it. At this point of time, I'll be talking about two aspects. The first one is how to enable learning, which is very great topic because it's very hard for us to ask for some roller coaster in the learning part in the Disneyland if we have no budget to put signs to that, especially in larger companies. Eventually, we might start doing an experiment, but it's pretty hard to sustain in that case if you have no resource or no budgets tied to it. Take the screenshot, and from this moment, you're going to know how to convince your manager to talk about enabling learning in your company, for example. And I will guide you through that. It's a simple formula, as we said, return on investment that Lukas have mentioned, which is you might consider it as some sort of a revenue coming from talent attraction, because by enabling learning, you might be more and more attractive and harder attractive towards talent. And of course, you get much more faster in hiring the right talent, meaning reducing the cost of delay or reducing the time to market. By the way, how many of you know what number of salaries an average hiring agency takes after you sign the paper? 2 to 3 salaries. That's yet another cost you have saved. And if you understand how many basically replacements you do per year, add it to your calculation, and that's only the first comment.
The second one is increase that by estimating the productivity increase of reducing again the time to market and by decreasing the epic cycle time. What I mean by the epic, these are the iterations that bring value to the end customer. And if you turn the number of iterations from, I would say, or the increments from 17 to 25 per team, it really means something. We are not over. You can add yet another factor or element, which is a customer satisfaction. Meaning, if we increase the quality of the product itself, for example, obviously it turns into saving money or generating revenue. It's all due to the learning. Not over. Moreover than that, you might want to add into the calculation for your manager the talent retention formula, which goes again towards the amount of fees that you are paid to the agencies while doing the replacements. And of course, by retaining the talent, you are keeping the knowledge within the company, exactly what Thomas have said. Because if there is a time where a replacement comes in the team, the domain knowledge gets down, or basically it goes vice versa, and you get a bump, which might be costing. The overall formula you can reduce, of course, by the cost, which might be going towards an agreement, meaning I want to establish a contract within the company of, take $300 per person per year for learning budget. Might be the compressors and so on and so forth. And sometimes I see that being expanded by saying we want to reserve a certain amount of time, okay, as Lucas, for example, mentioned, might be 10% of the time. I used to guarantee maximum 2 days per person per month for improvement days. So this is the overall formula that you can easily calculate, and it comes towards a specific number that you want to come back to your manager or to the board and asking for running the Disneyland of learning for yourself and for your teams, of course. Very simple. I think about you, if you come up back with that, you get a pretty powerful message. After you basically close the contract, now the fun part starts. Meaning how we build the learning and the Spring Disneyland for ourselves. What are the different roller coasters and attractions that we want to enjoy? This is something that I imagine the way how it looks. The first attraction in the Disneyland, which is building bonds, of course. Usually the way how I want to basically give you the message is you can imagine that to be part of your personal development plan, there's the shortcut, the abbreviation for the PDP. And as you might know, the personal development plan is part of the career framework in your companies. And I want to give a specific examples that you might want to give towards your engineering developers, managers, whoever is part of your team. And of course, it could be great to tie it towards a KPI, meaning what might be the turnaround after we develop such a roller coaster. Having said that, for example, with the building bonds, what I mean to say, for example, the best thing to apply is even the body system or programming. That makes total sense. And of course, you can measure the number or the amount of time spent on the programming, the body system, and so on and so forth. So that's the number one thing that you can start very easily. Let's make it more complicated. The second roller coaster that you might want to enjoy the experience is the community of practice or the guilds. And I believe that in a couple of companies, this is the horizontal structure that works for you. What it means is imagine that the community of practice as, for example, the practice for the backend teams, for the front-end developers, for data, AI, agility, leadership, whatever comes to your mind. Basically building the group of experts around the technical domain or the domain they are both in. And again, the good example of that for the personal development plan is attending a conference and creating a summary for your community of practice that you will be presenting there with some sort of a quite highly positive feedback. And if I want to sell this to my manager, I will be pretty open about making sure that I want to run an NPS score for a generic community of practice at least 30 plus on the scale of -100 plus to plus 100. By the way, if you are curious about how to run these communities, you might want to scan the QR code where we describe this, how to run it, because it's pretty difficult if you have experienced ever to run the community itself. Usually it works the way that you enable it. It works for the first 3 attempts, and then people stop attending. And this gives you a full guide how to make the community alive and sustain it for long. I don't want to go too much into the details. Nevertheless, feel free to read it or ask us for more insights. Is that okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay. W mall. The third attraction that we've got for you is dedicated learning channels. What I hear by the show, you might have your Slack channels, your Microsoft Teams channels, basically enabling the learning channels eventually per community, per team, per domain. And the goal could be that John would want to post a link towards with including summary to at least 2 knowledge sources per month in the upcoming year and a half. So that's one of the examples that could be part of your personal development plan. The KPI could be that for each and every learning channel, I want to get there at least 1 valuable article per week. This is a very specific thing that you want to enable as a KPI, basically. We are not over yet. The fourth, and we have mentioned it, Maya will attend and summarize an on-site workshop in the upcoming half year. Here, regarding KPI, I think you are part of a couple of workshops and courses and whatever comes to your mind. Some of them are great, some of them are not that great. To some degree, I like online workshops and courses as well, but usually my experience is that people don't pay too much attention on that, if you know what I mean. So if you are part of the company, which their ultimate good is to give you the opportunity to go through just online courses such as Udemy, Coursera, WorldSite, and that's about it, maybe it's time to move to another place. Sorry to say that. Hopefully I was not putting somebody that you. And of course, you can measure and build the portfolio of the on-site or European courses that your folks might want to attend. And so that is a great list of basically help and examples that people want to adapt. As you might know, in our community, we are also running the Enduring Leaders Academy. I think there were a couple of guys from coaching enabled from last time that we are going through the level 2. Again, I will be not bragging too much about this one. The fifth one is the cross exposure. And again, what we mean by the cross exposure is to, for example, visit Fintech or marketing department for a week in the next half year. So just that you know how things work in different departments, how to make sure that we are great and on track. And the way how we can measure it is that I want to see that at least 1/4 of employees are part of the cross exposure. Moving on. Number 6, we are just at half because we want to build in Disneyland. If you think that you can run just 3 bunny slopes, that's not enough, in my opinion. Number 6, external wisdom. What I need to say, we have a bunch of different podcasts and meetups that we want to attend or speak at. These are the 2 different options. And we might want to ask OC to attend and summarize at least 2 on-site meetups. Or eventually, we might want to ask Patrick to speak at one of the meetups or podcasts in the next year. At least if that's the person who wants to get promoted towards a staff engineer, for example. Number 7, another new thing, which is the conference and the conferences. What I want to, as a KPI, is that 85% of the talent will attend to one relevant conference a year in Europe. By the way, as we said, we have 300 euros budget for that, which makes total sense. And I will tell you a secret. The secret is there is more than 300 euros. In fact, if you listen carefully to the guys before me, the reason why there is more budget is that not all people will use the budget for themselves. Welcome to the reality. You have the full rights to and power to lobby for yourself. There is a great site for the developers and the different list of conferences that you might want to use and attend, and you might want to offer to your talent, developers, engineers, and product managers. You don't need to reinvent it on your own. The list exists. Ask them to lobby for their conference. By the way, if don't do the mistake of letting a whole team go for one single conference, because if there's an outage and nobody's in the building, your product is down. And it does make sense because you want to basically reuse a multitude of different conferences, because only then you can reuse the content and ask for the summaries throughout the whole year in your communities, internal communities. And of course, I would say more than half of people in this room are part of our conference this March. We'll be not talking more about it. Get ready for 2026. Will be pretty wild. Moving to my love and pleasure, and the way how I started is the mentoring itself. When we are saying Felipe will augment one of the high potential leaders in our team for success to a direct role, it's an internal mentoring. Eventually, you might want to use external mentoring, of course. That's up to you. And we identify with who are the high potential guys and people. And we want to make sure that more than half of them are going through the mentoring. Internal walls, external walls, whatever that is. By the way, if you're running your internal mentoring, make sure you don't mentor a person in your hierarchy tree. Believe me, it hurts. Pick over somebody outside of your chain. I think you know what I mean by that. The other thing I want to mention here, we choose our horses. Sorry for that word. We choose our heroes. I call it, we choose our Mustangs, meaning, how will I put it? There's no democracy. Each and every person as a manager or leader, we choose our Mustangs. Out of the group of 15 people, there are 2 people that we want to take care of specifically, because there is no time to take care of each and every person. Please make sure that you are in that group of 2. The number 9, promoting writing. Well, we might want to go to Juan. Hopefully, I'm talking Spanish now. We are saying, we'll write a high content article about our X till end of June 2025. And the post will achieve 300 reads, which is meaningful. And the internal overall R&D KPI is that we do want to publish 2 blog posts per month, which might work to be too much. But imagine that you have an army of, let's say, 50 plus developers. That is doable. By the way, here's my dirty trick that you want to use, which is don't ask the developers to write it on their own. There is a person on the market called copywriter. That's the person who is sitting next to you. And that's, by the way how I write my blog posts these days. Meaning I'm sitting in the chair for an hour. I'm splashing out all the thoughts around the topic. Then the copywriter summarizes the thoughts, then creating a structure. Then we meet for next hour after a couple of days. And basically, she analyzes all the outcome, including the pictures and everything at the headline. I know how painful it is. Me writing the very first blog post for 7 evenings, I would say nights. I was still unhappy. I was cursing. I was spreading about. Why? Doesn't make sense. While the copywriter is, I would say, 20 euros per hour. Like, that's the relative fix. So, by the way, if you want to rock your own, let's say, personal branding, a copywriter is the way to go. And that's yet again one of the examples, similar of what Lukas was exposing about Heureka devs. You might want to run your own emojis developer website, which is full of blog posts, full of meetups and podcasts, full of GitHub open source. And of course, at the end of the page, surprise, surprise, there is a link to job offerings, for example. This is a total magnet towards talent. Trust me. I think Lucas will agree on that. Going back to personal development plans, I think we are talking quite a lot about it. Personal development plans are basically a contract between me as a manager and you as my direct report, for example, where we are writing down what you're about to accomplish in order to increase your expertise and upskilling yourself. Make sure that these things are in a written form, because I don't remember a shit what we spoke about half a year ago. Neither you. While don't wait for an external HR system, while you can put it in, just open a simple spreadsheet and just write it in, or send it in Slack privately, so at least you have some reference to come back to. The other secret step is, I see quite a lot of companies are running their own career frameworks, levels, whatever that is, to be junior, senior, mid-senior, angel gold, whatever that is. And tighten that up towards the personal development plan success. But here's the truth. Most of the companies, the way how it works is that we agree on a personal development plan for the next half a year or a year, and nobody talks about it till end of the year. All day long, all year long. So the message is, yes, we theoretically care about your growth. The message is, we don't. I would say the message is, you don't as manager. So my strong advice is, make sure that at least once per month you come back to the personal development plan and the goals within it, and ask a simple question: how can I help you to achieve your goals? If you don't do that, the message that you are sending is that in practice you don't care about growth of others, growing others. I am getting quite a lot of questions about how to build the right personal development plan, because sometimes it's hard, and that's the reason why I'm doing examples. This is a list that I created, and I'm using it quite successfully for junior engineering leaders, managers, developers. this is a list of examples or areas that they go through. So it opens their eyes of what is the portfolio, different opportunities they can pick from, because I'm strictly asking them to come back to me with their suggestions, proposals on their personal development plan. It shouldn't be me, it shouldn't be you as a manager dictating what are the goals that you are about to accomplish, and then only then you will be successful. Because if I will dictate that to you, it end up by saying the message of you losing the ownership. So again, it always should be you coming back to your manager, coming with the proposal. And this is the helpful way how to help others to basically open their eyes. What are the different options to covering that? And by the way, you might know something called Tech Radar. I think it was ThoughtWorks as a company coming with that. And by the way, the technology radar is a highly successful thing that is telling you what are the different techniques, platforms, and processes and systems that you might want to adopt or basically sunset or move away from. And the reason why I'm talking about it is that it serves as a great source of what are the best trends. And usually if somebody comes to me about, I want to code in technology, I want them to make sure that that technology is part of the radar. Either early adopters or adopted or, production stage. So they don't cover some sort of obscure technology or whatever that is not compliant with our strategy. The number 11, which is of course no surprise, your internal knowledge base. Things about Confluence, perhaps Notion, hopefully not SharePoint. And again, the personal development plan for a job is to expand our knowledge base about their team charter and putting the architecture component view into the knowledge base. This might be an example of having the different fields that are covered by the knowledge base within it. For the career, the programming, the backend, front-end quality, team growth, leadership, soft skills, whatever comes to your mind. And that's something that you might want to build internally. By the way, this gives you a very strong message what's important in the company. And out of curiosity, learning goes third, not last, in your knowledge base list. It sends a signal pretty strong one. Moving forward. Number 12, again, we have mentioned that already, which is the onboarding. And here I want to make sure that Jane will create a 3 months of onboarding program as a weekly checklist of what's expected for a senior developer role as a foreign new starter while onboarding these people. And the reason is that I want to make sure that the time to productivity is roughly 4 months on average. And again, in the other day, we talk money, of course, because if it's 6 months, then basically I'm losing 2 months for each and every new starter, which is roughly 300,000 Czech crowns. If I'm hiring 5 people per month, it's a very simple month. Summarizing things for us. Sometimes I see still HR people, but there's no HR people in personally here, who are trying to sell learning as some sort of, bonus or perk or something extra. Well, it shouldn't be extra in my word, in my opinion. It should be standard. It's a similar thing as if somebody tries to sell you the dinner tickets, how it's called, stravecki. But it doesn't make sense. It's bullshit. Don't play the game on this way. What I need to say is it's a great benefit for the company yourself to be part of a learning environment, and you are more than privileged to build that learning environment within your company, because talent attracts talent. And in the day, you are willing to stay within the company for quite long. The other list of basically upgrading the list of the gamifying opportunities. Of course, people might want to gather the points, and that's yet another perspective of that. Cross exposure, 5-hour on-site courses, 5 posts shared, enroll internal, that's fine. All of them is 5 points. 10 points is having internal talk. By the way, if you are doing Strava, that's great. You might have extra 10 points or value points. If you do a one-up mentoring or you submit a call flow paper to a conference, again, next 20 points. But I would be more than grateful to help you building the call flow paper. 25 points is a blog post, or can I meet up or podcast. And 50 points is a conference where you will be talking, or you are providing a regular mentoring for 6 months at least, on a regular basis again. And people who are getting, let's say, 600 points in that year are pretty much celebrated. And I was always trying and succeeding to be in top 3 in the rank. So back to the Slido, hopefully it's gonna work and it's smiling. So let us know if the code works. And the question goes by asking, what is the one learning initiative you would like to see implement in your company that you are currently missing? So let's see what got on the table. Surprise, surprise. Gamification by the eyes. Leadership courses. Nice. BBB. What? By the way, the gamification is pretty nice. It makes sense, total sense. Regarding the gamification, make sure that you keep it simple. Simple, stupid, I would say. If you overcomplicate it, people will gamify the gamification, which would be very great. And then we had the exposure, meaning the cross exposure. For example, if I would want to promote someone from the line manager to the director level, I really want to make sure that they understand the whole product life cycle and go through all different departments so that they understand like the value generation from idea to product with all the different stakeholders. Amazing. Thank you for that. Moving towards the summary. This is the last roller coaster that you would want to apply, which is my message. Don't wait. Wake up. Why the hell are you waiting so that somebody asks you to do the cross exposure? Why the hell are you waiting for bragging about, hey, please give me a mentor or something? By the way, why are you waiting for some sort of course or miles course? We shouldn't be going to buy courses, by the way, because as Ota has said, these days everything is public. Trust me. We live in 21st century, by the way. And I built and basically written down a learner guide, which is my own path of basically building a learning habit. This is my basically summary of 15 years of building that, and I'm spending 1 day per week on learning, if my wife allows, of course. And more than that, you can see a list of sources that I'm opening and basically that I'm currently going through. Because as you know, there is so many podcasts, meetups, blog posts, newsletters, whatever that is, that it makes you sick. it makes you sick. It makes me sick myself. I'm writing blog posts, by the way. Don't read. And if you even go through the first, I would say, the links in the sources that I'm sharing with you, it is fairly sufficient because these are the top people that you really would want to follow. Hopefully, I'm not on the list this time. What I want to expose as well is purposely we are talking about engineering, leadership, and management. But hey, there is a second thing which is called product leadership and management, because engineering can survive with no product and vice versa. And if you want to succeed in this mastery, you will never succeed with not understanding the product part of things. Moving towards the end line. And of course, my deep apologies for going too fast through the whole Disneyland, because I know that to build each and every roller coaster takes maybe weeks or months or even a year. I will be more than glad to help you building that. That's no worries. But back to the message that, and again, thank you for the guys being part of our speaker lineup, which is, this is the truth, and there are two perspectives how you can basically read it. It's roughly 10 to 15% of people who are sort of proactive in learning, which is a sad news. The rest is sort of passive. The top rest don't care. I was gonna say something different, but I think we need to skip diplomatic. It might be a negative news, but considering to looking at that from different perspective, if you are part of these 15%, welcome in our world. It makes you successful. And it's very easy, by the way, going through these numbers, if that makes sense. Before we were talking about not having time. Okay, I get it. Nevertheless, the 50% is something that you want to go through and strive towards. And it makes you a valuable person, not only within your team or within your company, but also on the market. And you don't lose your value. You become an asset, something as an investment where you invest into yourself. Having said that, very clearly, I wanna thank you to all of you, because you are in the green category. The reason why is that you are here. Having said that, you have my gratitude, you have my trust that we do it together, and that's the reason why we built this community for you. And I want to make sure that after we do the networking today and everything, you come back to your manager and you choose one of the fun parts and attractions and asking them with specific personal development plans and KPIs to enable the opportunities for you. It's very simple. And trust me, each and every company has a learning budget. Even some of them hide it. They do have the budget. They do. Having said that, thank you to all of you for being part of the journey today.